Good day, everyone, and welcome to our 2021 SheLoves Advent/Christmas service. It is technically still Advent, but this is the only time we get together. So we do Advent and we do Christmas all at the same time. I am so excited for this service. It's wonderful to be here with all of you, with all our panelists here on the screen today. We are so excited to be welcoming Kathy Escobar here today to share with us our sermon and communion with us. Kathy, welcome. We have been so looking forward to spending time with you. My name is Erin Thomas. I live in Edmonton, Alberta, and I come from Treaty 6 lands, home of the Cree, Dene, Nakota, Sioux, and Blackfoot, and it's also home to Métis Nation Region 4. And I'm going to ask all the other panelists on our screen today if we can go around and share where they are from. Nicole, why don't you start us off?
Hello, everyone. I am very honored to be here with you today. I am from Cape Town in the Western Cape in South Africa, and I come to you from the lands of the San and Ku peoples of the Western Cape.
Welcome, Nicole. Justine.
Hello, I'm Justine, and I am zooming in from Vancouver, which is the stolen lands of the Musqueam, Squamish, and Tsleil-Waututh nations.
Thank you, Justine. Idalette.
I am here in a supporting role. I'm Idalette. I am joining today from the unceded territories of the Kwantlen, the Semiahmoo, and the Stolo nations, but I hail from the Drakenstein Mountains. That's where I was born and raised.
Thank you, Idalette. And Kathy.
I'm Kathy Escobar. It's just a joy to be able to be with you today. And I am currently zooming in and sitting in the Refuge, which is my faith community. And it sits on the stolen land of the Cheyenne, the Ute, and the Arapaho.
Thank you, Kathy. Once again, welcome to all of you. Please be welcome to write in the chat box where you are hailing from. We always love to hear where everybody's tuning in from today. And with that, I invite you to find a comfortable position, take a couple of deep cleansing breaths, and know that all of who you are is welcome here today. With that, I'm going to invite Nicole to start us off with our prayer.
God is an invitation, a lure, a chance to do things differently. Always before us, God is the possibility of collective change. Though everyday ordinary patterns of living disguise evil and cover over sins of power, God makes known what is hidden, calls us to courage, makes us capable of radical solidarity. We are not left powerless. Every day there are openings. Every day a chance to choose what is right. Every day an opportunity to repattern the world.
Amen and amen. Well, I invite you at this time to gather your items around you, your harder item and your softer item. And as we begin, I invite you to take up your harder object. Mine's the medallion that was given to me on my birthday one year when I was working at the Lac-La-Biche Canadian Native Friendship Center up in Lac-La-Biche. This is what they gave me. So hold the item in one hand. Feel its texture. Press into its density and hardness, and observe your own sensations as you hold it. Set your harder object down for the time being and pick up your softer object. Mine is one of my favorite blankets. It's a very well-washed, soft, green bamboo blanket. Feel its particular texture. Squeeze it, stroke it, observe your own sensations as you hold it. Now pick up your harder object once more using your other hand so that you are holding both at the same time. Begin to explore their textures in contrast to each other as you hold both in tension. Hardness can sometimes represent more difficult aspects of ourselves and of life, but it can also represent reliability, constancy, support, formation, and structure. What hard things are within you and around you in your own life that have such reliability and constancy? Who or what has become your bedrock? As we meditate on these things, take a moment and switch objects from hand to hand. Allow both hemispheres of the brain to encounter both textures. Pause. Take a moment and wonder, has anything changed in you? Softness can sometimes be seen as weak or flippant in our world, but deep, abiding softness can represent fluidity, movement, an infilling, comfort, covering, shaping, and changing. What soft things are within you and around you in your own life that have such fluidity or comfort? Who or what has become your sanctuary of softness? Hold both your hardness and softness in relationship today, whether that relationship is tense or calm, clear, or maybe confusing. As Justine begins to read our poem today, continue to hold your objects. Notice where your hands grip more tightly at certain images and where they relax. Sit with whatever sensations and feelings and memories that may come. Justine.
So this poem is from Amanda Barclay of Justice Unbound. There are disappointments that linger in this world filled with expectations and potential that name delicate ways in which life is sustained. There is real poverty in otherness. There is practical comfort in wealth. Such obvious barriers smothered in sins of loathing and entitlement. What are your expectations of the Messiah? What is required of you to walk this new path of liberation? When you pray at night, who is your God? Black inquiring minds would like to know, sincerely, over 1 billion Christians on this planet. Who is their God? As fruits from the tree of life are regularly harvested, the great illusion is repeated. We reject paradise given as birthright. Soil, wind is our body's name. Mary, it is a miracle your throat is not raw. Mary, it is a miracle your praise has not ceased. Mary, Your stubborn lips know your first son's teachings. By choice, we too are the fruits of your womb.
Nicole.
I'm reading from Luke chapter 2, and I'll be reading from verses 1 to 7. Now it happened in those days that a decree went out from Caesar Augustus that all the world should be registered for taxation. This was the first registration and occurred while Quirinius was governor of Syria. So all went to be registered, each to their own towns. Joseph also went up from Galilee, out of the city of Nazareth into Judea, to the city of David called Bethlehem, for he was from the house and heritage of David. He went to be registered with Mary, to whom he was betrothed and who was pregnant. So it was that while they were there, the time came for her to birth her child. And she gave birth to her firstborn son and swaddled him and laid him in a manger, because there was no place for them at the inn.
Thank you, Nicole. Thank you, Justine. Let's pray together. God, our Creator, Redeemer, and Sustainer. Many of us are in a season where many people have heavy hearts and sorrow, instead of feeling the joy of this season as we celebrate the birth of Christ. We pray for the time to come of sweet justice and peace. Oh God, how we pray that in this season of waiting on the Lord, that justice and righteousness will come to pass in the world. We can't see where the path ahead is taking us, but we know you are on the path with us. In Jesus' name, amen. It is my delight and joy to introduce to you now Kathy. Many of us are familiar with her writings and with her social media presence. And we're just so pleased that you are here with us today, Kathy. Take it away.
Feels so good to be with you all, and every reading, every prayer is just really exactly what I needed for today. And I will just say that I am so grateful that SheLoves was part of my life for a long time. I wrote there for a long time. I don't remember how many years. How many years was it? A lot. And I loved it. I loved it. And I still love it. I still draw back on some of those posts, and my heart is always with this group. And so to actually be here today is really special. But it's also really hard to be here today. And there's a lot going on in our personal life, of course, in the world. Just before I logged on, we had a big party. I'm here at the Refuge. I wasn't sure if I was going to make it home or not, but it was just wiser for me to stay here. And we had 35 single moms here for our annual party. And we were on Zoom, of course, last year. So it was a big deal. We couldn't do food. We were all masked, but it was just so fun. And one of the things that we did in the beginning, though, is everyone shared at their tables feelings that they were feeling just today. And then each table read them out. There were 6 tables. And it was just such a mix of so many different feelings. And my guess is in this room, it's just the same, that we're just all over the place. We're all over the world, and we're all in different places in our story. And we all have probably a mix of conflicting feelings this moment. And I know I do, because when I'm done with this, I'm going to wrap up a few things here. And then I'm actually traveling to my husband's house. He had to work this afternoon, but his mother suffered a stroke a little over a week ago, several. And so I will be meeting with home hospice just to talk about what we're doing. And I know some of you are like, why is she here? It's a good question. But you know why I'm here? Because I need this. in the middle of the hard. I need this. This is where I need to be. And both can exist. I can be laughing. We were laughing so hard. They did this whole skit. My husband was actually in an elf costume, just so you know, just a little bit ago. And Santa was here and we did it, and it wasn't fake. It's real. We're here with all of our fun and all of our FUCKED. Okay. I don't know who says what here. So I just want to be careful. But I will tell you, that's how we showed up. And so it is a joy to be here. I need to be reminded of a deeper piece that I can't just sort of muster on my own. And that for me, I get that from community, from beauty, from embodied practice, and from kind of a wild and all over the place faith. And so with that today, I just am grateful to kind of jump into the reality of just a lot of conflicting feelings that we have. And so I'm holding them with you. And I feel you. And I'm just glad we all made the time to be here. So a little bit about my last few years. I have known Idelette and SheLoves and all for many, many years, but in 2019, it was the beginning of 2019 was a great year for me. I was empty nesters. Jose and I have 5 children. It was our first season of like everybody in college, like made it through. We celebrated by working from Mexico for a month. Just to see what that felt like. We've been parenting kids for 28 years. A good year. While I was there, I signed a contract on a new book called Practicing Changing Yourself to Change the World. I love that little book. It has 10 practices that I think the world needs more of. Healing and loving, listening, loving, including, equalizing, mourning, failing, resting, and celebrating, advocating. I think I missed, but I loved it, super excited. And on October 28th of 2019, I can see this, and you'll know this feeling, like when you kind of wake up and you're like, I feel pretty good today. I'm in like a decent place in my story, done a lot of personal work over a lot of years. Things in terms of a huge faith deconstruction kind of feels a little settled. It's wide and simple, but I felt pretty anchored. And so, yes, thank you for putting that in the chat. And I would say it was maybe a moment where I noticed how good I felt. And I in my body, I was present. I'd had a meeting with a PR person that offered to help get practicing out into the world, which I never was able to really do because I had so many kids and I work full time planting this community and nurturing it. It's just never been my strength. So that morning, with that feeling, a few hours later, I got news that our youngest son had died. And that moment, I'll never forget the moment ever for as long as I live, but there was like a before and an after. There's a before October 28th, 2019, and there's an after, and I'm living in the after. And the other part I just want to say, just like right before that, is Evolving Faith was in Denver. I saw some of you there. We're there in Denver. And I had kind of redeemed a hard thing that had happened the year before. Like, I can't tell you enough what it felt like to kind of be in that place and then to have everything shattered. And I had my book was in production. Like it was there, it was done. And I was so thankful. I will tell you that Westminster John Knox Press did a wonderful thing, but one of the hardest things that I had to do in that week between when Jared died and his second memorial service is I had to include this reality in this book before it went out into the world. So it was the hardest 800 words I've ever written in my entire life, but I am so grateful. It was worth it to get at least in there. A lot has changed since then, but I got it in there so that I felt more integrated about that. So all that to say, October, it's Christmas. January rolls around, February practicing's released. I crawled into the refuge and celebrated the release of practicing. You know, we're barely breathing. And then March 8th, it's COVID, a global pandemic. And I lead a community here. We're a hub for healing, community, social action, and creative collaboration here in Broomfield. And we have people who live outside and in cars, and single moms and unresourced people financially, everything in between, every struggle you can imagine. And so here it's like we're barely breathing, we're crawling, and then we're all in this trauma together. It's the Escobar trauma and then the world trauma. And I know all of you are in that same place too, in a different way. And that I lost my son to suicide. It's a tragedy. I'm not going to go into all the details, but it was not in a million years on our scan that morning. We work in mental health. And at the same time, since then, 2 years, I know so many around this circle have lost humans that are very close to you. You've lost dreams. You've lost relationships. You've lost ministry things. Some of you maybe are in the process of losing faith. That what used to be so clear, it looks so different for every person. But I will tell you one grace that we got is that we did join into the family of grief. We really did. And Westminster John Knox came to me, it's a long story, but it was already in the works before Jared died about doing an Advent thing. And they came at the beginning of that year. And again, people were like, well, what in the world is she doing writing something? But they said, you know, I just want to revisit this. And I said, I only have one idea. And this is it. It's like, how do you make it through the holidays when we're weary? And the Christmas is blue, the holidays are blue, and we just don't know what to do. And so I feel so grateful that I was able to process some of my feelings through a weary world. I had a copy somewhere, but I don't know. I think I gave it to somebody today. And so, but it's 28 reflections, and doing it helped me, because the movements in there are centered on honoring reality, our real reality. Week 2 is about practicing honesty. And week 3 is embracing paradox. And then the last week is borrowing hope. And then it ends actually with a piece that I wrote on SheLoves called God with Us. And I want to say that doing all those things at the same time, my 4 living children, my daughter became a doctor. My kids moved, they're all thriving in their lives. And so it's so conflicting because it's the deepest, hardest thing that we're doing. And then life keeps going. And one of the things that we are learning is how to practice paradoxing. It's a practice. Everything in practicing has an ing because it's an action. It's not in our head. Anytime I'm in my head, this is how I know I'm in trouble. When I say, let me just figure it out. Okay, second thing is when I say, oh, we're just around the corner. We're just around the corner. Do you know this feeling? And I love the chat, by the way, so feel free to use it. If we were together in a room, we'd be doing some interactive things, but I'm in trouble when I try and figure it out, and I'm in trouble when I say I'm just around the corner. And paradoxing is the ability to hold 2 conflicting feelings in the same space at the same time. And it is not easy. We want to swing over here and we want to swing over there. We want to squeeze out hard and just have the good. And I'm going to say, I mean, I'm a spiritual mutt. I come from not Christian stuff. And then I was a really good evangelical for a lot of years. I'm not anymore. I'm still a follower of Jesus. And I'm really a spiritual mutt. I'm involved in the multi-faith conversations here in Denver for 10 years. Super grateful for that. And so, but I will say this, I don't think conservative Christianity helped and does not like paradox. So we were actually taught that hard things needed to be squeezed out. So grief in my situation was something that, of course, you're allowed to feel it for a little bit. and then trusting Jesus, I don't want to go into those things. I think they're really triggering and traumatizing, to be honest, to say. And so I have learned the power of integrating as best I can, holding it all. And I will say it is hard. It is way easier to live more binary. Non-binary living is trickier, but it's far more a representation, in my opinion, of the Christmas story from the Christian tradition, and a story that I love because it is paradox to the max. Of all the beauty and all the mess, of all the hard and all the holy, all of it, God, fully human, fully divine, all of it is paradox. But I will say this, Tara Brach, some of you have maybe followed some of her work. She's a really lovely Buddhist teacher that has some really practical things. And this little equation has helped me so much. It's pain plus resistance equals suffering. And there's only one part we can change in the equation. I'm the worst at math, okay? So some of you are probably good math people. I'm terrible. My husband's a math super. My kids are all mathy and I'm not. I edit their papers. And so, but that pain, you can't change. I can't change the deep loss in my family. I can't bring Jared back. I can't make my mother-in-law right now have her stroke reversed. I can't do that. But the second part is resistance. And that is in my control. That's in my path. And resistance is us trying to work against paradox, in my opinion. The resistance is trying to squeeze it out. And when I lower my resistance, my suffering doesn't go away. The equation's still the same. There's still suffering, but it does lessen. And I have found that in my story, that showing up, honoring my reality, practicing honesty, embracing paradox, that I can grieve and live at the same time, and then borrow hope from other people who have lost and are still living, has helped really reduce my resistance, and it has helped minimize my suffering. And so I just, I kind of already said it, but I just always want to emphasize the Christmas story. It's just a beautiful practice of paradoxing. And as humans, we got taught, especially in the Christian, more conservative streams, it was pretty neat and tidy. It was pretty neat and tidy looking. We get taught a few things about it, but every representation of it looks that way. And that's not true. It was messy, confusing, filled with fear, filled with human experience, shame, filled with animals and noises and disappointment and all the things that so many of us are feeling in our real lives as well. And that really helps me, that I don't get to pick and choose in this life. And I've worked in hard places for a long time. I've gone to 12-step meetings for 17 years for codependency. And I know I sit in rooms all the time where people are really, really honest. And I'm so grateful. It helps me so much. Everyone doesn't need to know this in my community. I never had one weird Christian theme the entire, since October 28th of 2019, not one. I can't say that so much on some things on Facebook and some other things, but in my community on the whole, you know why? Because everyone understands living paradox. Everyone understands the reality of the human experience, and everyone's not trying to squeeze it into some neat and tidy boxes. And so it does make me think of this again. Definitely a spiritual mutt, and I love Rumi, Sufi mystic. And some of you have heard this poem, I'm sure. And I have 1,000 times, and every time I read it, I think I need this again. And this is the guest house. This being human is a guest house. Every morning, a new arrival, a joy, a depression, a meanness, Some momentary awareness comes as an unexpected visitor. Welcome and entertain them all. Even if they're a crowd of sorrows who violently sweep your house empty of its furniture. Still, treat each guest honorably. He may be clearing you out for some new delight. The dark thought, the shame, the malice. Meet them at the door laughing and invite them in. Be grateful for whoever comes because each has been sent as a guide from beyond. So I don't want to, and I'm sorry I didn't copy and paste that into the chat, but it's everywhere online. I don't want to invite them all in today, but I'm trying. Oh, thank you. I love teams and collaborations. It's the best. It's the best. But I do really want to be grateful for everything that comes. And I am grateful for the Christmas story. I am still a follower of Jesus, probably because of the Christmas story. Because it's an upside down, wild story. It doesn't make any sense. And yet it does. Super complicated, is super simple. And there is something for me after all these years of losing so much way before Jared related to faith and church and so many things that I don't do anymore. I have clung to, and that is that Jesus knows what it is to be human. And whatever that looks like in wherever you're at in your faith and theology, just that concept of somehow born in all the mess, in all the weird, in all the wild, in a really weird story, and yet somehow enduring and being called Emmanuel, God with us. And out of everything, if I summarize my faith in the Christian stream in one thing, I would say that's it. That I have got that. And that has sustained me more than before Jared, and certainly more than ever after Jared. And today, in this moment, that I somehow do know that God is with us as we do this really hard thing. God is with all the humans hurting right now. And God is with the world as we try and figure out what it does mean to live in this wild and weird and messy world. So I would just love to hear in the chat, if you're willing to. I do like knowing what's in the room. And I think we're all paradoxing probably right now. Francis Weller talks about holding grief in one hand and gratitude in the other and being stretched large by them. We don't plan these things. I love what Erin shared, that embodied practice of a hard thing in one and a soft thing in the other. And so for me right now, I am kind of holding, and it's so weird, like I do feel peace. I feel grounded in peace. And with news of what we're doing right now and some of the things attached to it with my mother-in-law, I do feel really undone. I can feel peace and undoneness in the same place. And so I just love, if you're willing, I'm just going to pause. And if you're willing to just share in the chat, maybe 2 contradicting things that you're feeling in this moment or in this stream of your story, in this season, as we come to the end of 2021, 2 things that you're holding.
We have worry and hope, gratitude and fear, depression and grief, along with deep gratitude. Ambiguity and freedom, uncertainty and acceptance, joy and desperation, exhaustion and excitement, persistence and languishing, love and unease, gratitude and sadness and grieving, holding family members accountable while allowing their own messy journeys to unfold with patience and kindness. Love and resentment, far and near. Happy and proud of son-in-law for getting a new job, but he and my daughter, 2 granddaughters, will be moving next week to Florida from KS. This is the Canadian me, that's Kansas. Sad and depressed seniors, as well as gratitude for seeing their growth and persistence. And that's from Barb, who's a chaplain in a senior living community. Thank you, Barb.
Thank you so much. Thank you for reading those, Erin, and thank you for sharing. And if anyone else wants to add, please do. Generosity and boundaries, weakness and strength, the both and heading to care for a mother-in-law who just fell and broke 8 bones for a stint, and then also celebrating getting her book off. And that's Adrienne, I just noticed this, by the 15th anniversary of my son's death. Bitter and sweet, silence and speaking, loss and strength. So many things that we are practicing, paradoxing. And when I see those, it helps me. It helps me be okay with laughing. My husband in an elf costume. I should follow up with a picture so you can see it. And then recognizing the meeting that I'm going to go to in just a little bit, and the reality of my mother-in-law not super long for this earth. It's always both and. We can have anxiety and wonder at the same time. And so I have behind my Christmas tree, and that's another paradox, honestly. We do still do our traditions. We talked about it as a family. And should we not? Like, what do we feel? And everyone agreed, like, we just need to. It's like in the Escobar family. So we cut down our Christmas tree. It's a total Charlie Brown Christmas tree. It's not pretty at all, $20. And but behind it, there's a little canvas painting, and it just says, all is well with my soul. And so I've been singing that this week. And again, I don't like a lot of hymns. I get super triggered, and I don't like a lot of some of the other stanzas in this particular one, but I have been singing this song this week. And I did not know the origin of this song, and it was wild to look at it. And it comes out of deep pain of so much loss. And the author, lost a son and then 4 daughters lost at sea when he sent them on a trip to recuperate from the loss of their son. And his wife lived. And as he was going to meet her, he wrote this song. And that is so meaningful to me. I had no idea. And it was on the internet and it looked right, but don't quote me 100%. But I'm pretty positive it was like a halfway reliable source, but I didn't have time to like do, but I'm pretty sure. And the part that I love is when peace like a river attendeth my way, when sorrows like sea billows roll. Whatever my lot, thou hast taught me to say, it is well with my soul. It is well with my soul, with my soul. It is well with my soul. And I can tell you that today, in the middle of it all, it is well with my soul. And I think one of the reasons why is that this paradoxing thing has really helped me. And what sustains me on it is that we're in good company with humans. This is what it means to be human. It's just that simple. We need to get taught that better as people of faith, what it means to just be human, instead of trying to squeeze that out all the time. And laughter, I mean, it just helps. Some of the times my family and our family thread, we feel a little sacrilegious because we are, but it helps us. It helps us survive. It's medicine. It's for sure medicine. And then this is a huge one, letting go of the way we thought life was supposed to be. That's white supremacy. That's Christian supremacy, Bible supremacy. And it is taught to us that it's supposed to be this way. And it's wrong. It's a lie. And then being grounded in nature. Nature has just done so much for my soul. I am so thankful. And the other night I was out here. The Refuge is in an industrial park. It's not very pretty. Inside is really pretty. It's beautiful. I love it. It's super homey. And but we did it outside because of COVID, Blue Christmas, and we've been holding this space for many, many years. I think this was our 11th one. We always do it like about the second Wednesday. And one of the stations was literally just called Trees, and this is all it was. There was no setup for it. It just said, sit by the tree, sit under the tree, lean on the tree, hug the tree, talk to the tree, let the tree talk to you. That was all the prompt was. And I leaned against the tree in this, it's so ugly out there. It's like these industrial buildings. It's not a pretty forest. And I just felt my whole body relax. I started bawling. And I felt the tree / God just say, I got you. I got you. And even when I say it right now, like I feel it in my body. And there's something about nature speaking and healing. And so it looks so different for everybody, but I will tell you, being with you, I'm in the smaller circle here, but I'm picturing and I'm seeing names of people that I love and have traveled with and I know have had great loss and great joy. And it is a miracle. We are all still here. It's a miracle. We have every reason to give up. And we don't. And I think it is because of the Christmas story. I think it is because we're with each other. I think it is because humans are incredibly resilient. And I know that it is because we are seekers of healing, to learn how to hold these things together in the same space. But I will say this, again, it takes practice and it takes reminding. And so this is one of the ways that I reminded. This is my tattoo. I got this with my daughter. It says, keep practicing. And then on my other side, I got this tattoo right after Jared died. And it is paradox. Jared was really into paradox. And my family is really into paradox. We were before. But I got this and I have both of these things and they're in front of me all the time. And I just want to say, whatever helps us remember, do. Whatever helps us remember, do. So with that, I would love for us to just take a really deep breath in and a really big exhale. And just breathing in all the goodness, everything that we're like want to soak in. And then just pushing out. It just needs to go for this moment. And then, you know, this is a whole Tonglen practice also. We're not going to do it. But then it's just like breathing in the reality of all the hard stuff. And holding it. And then exhaling and celebrating the good. We're now going to enter into communion. And I love communion. When the Refuge gathers, we only do spiritual formation Sundays now twice a month because we have so many things going on. And it's been really sweet to remember communion comes in all different forms. But it is something, despite we are really all over the place in faith in this community. But you know what? That open table does something. It does do something. So if you have your elements with you, you can go grab them. I have a super cool thing that someone brought me today. Do they have crumble cookies in some of the places that you are living? I can't tell, but these are crumble cookies. I've never had one, but they're super expensive. And one of our single moms brought them. She got this huge discount. She brought them for everybody. And so this is eggnog. and I have water, but I'm super into sweet Jesus in a really brutal world. For me, I kind of like Jesus to taste good. I need it. And sometimes when I eat the gluten-free crackers at our communion at the Refuge, I'm like, that's not what I needed today. But everyone's all over the place, whatever your elements are. And I always love to hear them. Homemade brown muffin and water. Yes. Gingerbread scone. And port. Yes. Salsa cracks and red grape juice. I love the mix. But I came back, I was thinking about something that Jesus said in the upper room at a time that, the reason why we do practice communion together. He said, I said these things to you while I'm still with you, but the advocate, the Holy Spirit, whom the Father will send in my name, will teach you everything and remind you of all that I have said to you. Peace I leave with you, my peace I give to you. I do not give to you as the world gives. Do not let your hearts be troubled, and do not let them be afraid. And so when we take communion, we're trying to remember this together. I don't think it is never be troubled, never be afraid. And people use that verse that way. And I think that's trash. I think it is, honey, I know it's hard. I know it's hard. But remember, you are anchored in a deeper peace that does not make sense. And you don't have to suffer so much. That's how I interpret those words. And so communion doesn't mean we master this. It means we come together, keep trying to gather strength. So I always like to picture with all of our different elements that we're kind of taking it from the same place, the same loaf, with all of our different stuff that we're doing. And it does mean that we are getting what we need to keep going, to make it through this week. It strengthens us. And so as you eat, take it and eat it. May we try to gather peace. Let's borrow it from one another. And let's anchor into knowing that God can hold it all and help us too. So I'm going to take a bite of this crumble cookie. And then I'm going to drink my water to remember Jesus, to remember that we're here together drinking from the same cup. And it's a cup of suffering, and it's a cup of joy. Celtic Christianity has helped me a lot. There's something about the radical hospitality. There's something about original blessing. There's something about nature that's really good for my soul. And I was in Iona several years ago with a group here. We did a contemplative adventure. And I love this blessing. And it is the practice of paradoxing helps us find a deeper peace in this weary world. It helps us hold. And this Celtic blessing is one of my favorites. Deep peace of the running wave to you. Deep peace of the flowing air to you. Deep peace of the quiet earth to you. Deep peace of the shining stars to you. Deep peace of the gentle night to you. Moon and stars pour their healing light on you. Deep peace of Christ, the light of the world to you. Deep peace of Christ to you. So I would love for us to end kind of this time before we do our closing with a video that was created by my friends at the Work of the People. Travis is a really good friend, and my friend Kelly Hall writes things for them. And I kind of wish she was here today. She would love this. She lives in Texas. And this is a mashup of the song. And I really hope this for us, that peace could become us.
When peace like a river attended my way, when sorrows like sea billows roll, whatever my Lord thou hast taught me to say, it is well, it is well with my soul. It is well with my soul. It is well. It is well with my soul.
Thank you. I'm excited to have a conversation afterwards. I'll let them do the announcements, but I found the book. It was up top, it was up here. And I changed my mind on what I wanted to end. I do that sometimes after I'm thinking. And so I want to read this piece that was something that I had written on my blog originally, and then I shared it for one of the SheLoves in December. It was a long time ago. And then in 2020, I wrote them here again, and this is at the very end. And I know we're before Christmas Eve, but I think this helps us paradox better. Emmanuel, God with us. God is with us. God with us. Some other words for with include accompanying, alongside, amid, among, beside, by, for, including, near, upon, as companion, side by side, in the thick of. All these words are good for my weary heart, for our weary world. God accompanying us, God alongside us, God amid us, among us, beside us, by us, including us, near us, plus us, upon us, as companion to us, side by side us, God in the thick of us. That's my personal favorite. God in the thick of us, in the thick of our humanity, our pain, our blue, our beautiful, our hard, our messy, our ugly, our struggle, our joys. God in the middle of this weary world with us. As God is with us, we are also called to be in the flesh with others in the muck and mire of their real lives too, accompanying others, alongside others, amid others, beside others, by others, for others, including others, near others, a companion to others, side by side with others, in the thick of others. God with us. In the thick of our messy, beautiful lives, us with others, in the thick of their messy, beautiful lives, God with the world, in the thick of its messy, beautiful existence. In that, a weary world rejoices, and maybe our weary hearts can too.
Thank you, Kathy. Thank you so much. Beautiful words. Thank you to all of you for sharing how you are paradoxing. Thank you for your vulnerability and for trusting one another here in this safe space. If you would like to help support SheLoves at this time and help us launch these church services and have more speakers come in, I invite you to donate on our website. If I can have one of our tech people maybe, oh, there it is, there's the link. You can click on there and offer what you can. It's always a joy and a wonder when we gather together like this to see and hear what comes of it. Thank you as well to Nicole and Justine. Thank you for being present this morning and offering your gifts and for holding space for all of us. It was truly wonderful and a gift to have you here. So at this time, I send you off with a blessing of Christ, the Christ of Advent, the Christ of Christmas, in whatever way that means is most meaningful for you at this time of the year. For those of you in Dangerous Women, we have the link ready. We'll let our panelists have a few minutes break and we can have a bit of a health time, stretch our legs, and then in a few minutes, we'll make sure that the room is opened up for you. In the meantime, blessed Advent to you all, and we will connect with you all in the new year. Thank you.